Honourable Clayton Cosgrove.
Chair, I'm astounded by that contribution for 2 points. The Minister perhaps can't read because this bill is actually in her name, and the note in the Select Committee, she says I haven't quoted from the Ministry of Justice. Well, I'll quote this. The Ministry of Justice has noted. It's in the piece, it's in the report in the bill. It's in Justice's name. So what the Minister's saying is the ministry that she barred from the Select Committee process, the ministry that is has core functionality, the Justice that will have to administer this piece of legislation, because it's not a corrections bill, it's not a police bill, it is a justice bill. It is a justice bill. And what we have noted in this report is that the key Crown agency, and that's why the Minister of Justice didn't want a bar of this, has said that it will not work. Now, it's not the police, it's not the Corrections Department, it's the key Crown agency that has to administer justice bills. And there's a word on, I even give the Minister the page, it's page 14, and she'll see it's attributed to the Justice Ministry. So while she stands up and doesn't give us a contribution of substance and go through the analysis, she hasn't even bothered to go through the analysis in this committee stage of part 2, but get up and lambaste me and try and twist words and say that I quoted from her or I quoted from the police or I quoted from corrections. No, I quoted from the Cabinet paper that went through her, that was signed off, and it's quoted the Ministry of Justice in here. It may not be her ministry, but this is her bill, and she is responsible for it. And the key agency that was not allowed to participate, and I'd like the Minister to answer this, the key agency, when the changes were made at the 11th hour to this bill, that was not allowed was specifically barred, and members of the Select Committee asked for the Ministry of Justice to appear as advisors, even to sit in the room, even maybe to contribute to the last stage of the bill. Oh no, completely blocked under instructions. And there are other bills, some I can't talk about, where this has occurred as well. I can't talk about them yet. But why would you bar the key administrative agency, because police won't administer this, corrections won't administer this, it will be the Ministry of Justice, from actually submitting and advising members without fear or favour? Well, the answer is on page 14 of this particular bill. That's what's on, because they didn't want the Ministry of Justice, and I understand Simon Power's dilemma, because he wanted to back out of this, and he didn't want his own ministry being put up and having to tell the truth to say they wouldn't have a bar of this and it wouldn't work. And I repeat the words that are quoted from them, that it will have not an effect in reducing reoffending or victimisation. And that member gets up and did what I predicted earlier today. Instead of having a logical debate, no, these members on that side of the House defend criminals. Well, I say to her, she's a lawyer, I'm not. So if we say we're opposed to this because it has no logic and because it will not work, the best that this minister can do is throw around an insult that says if you're opposed to this, the Labor Party always defends criminals. And I had a text from somebody tonight that made the same accusation, an ill-informed accusation. Because I'll show enough goodwill, as I did this afternoon, to say I suspect there's not any person in this chamber, on any side of the House, that would defend criminal activity. I suspect every member of this chamber, of whatever colour, would stand beside victims. We may disagree on how to help them, and we may disagree on how we deal with prisoners, but I suspect everybody, even Mr Garrett, would say that everybody in this House stands on the side of the victim. So the sort of smirky, sort of Shirley Temple type smarmy insult that's thrown around by that minister, that if you say you're against something and you have an argument of substance and you believe it will not work, that somehow you're defending criminals. That's the best this minister can do. She hasn't even got up and gone through clause by clause. At least Simon Power or Chris Finlayson would do that. Chris Finlayson's come down here with other ministers' bills to patch them up and had the decency to go through and give us the analysis and give us his arguments and acknowledge points. Not this minister. The best she can do, thanks mate, the best she can do is to get up and say, the Labor Party defends criminals or the Green Party defends criminals. Well, if it's come down to that, which we always thought it would be, then I think in a few years we will look back at Hansard, and some people in this House will be ashamed of the comments they made in this debate. This is the Minister, of course, who never comments on anything when it goes wrong, but always is happy to comment with her departments when it goes right. It's always an operational matter when it goes wrong. Vehicle crime, wouldn't comment to the media tonight, it's an operational matter because the resolution rates are so low. Won't comment on other matters of critical substance. But if it goes okay, oh yes, Judith Collins is front and centre taking the credit.
Oh, Mr Chair, that was an amazing...